the barrier between, or rather the relationship between money and walking outside at night?
Ask Kosgei if he can go anywhere without money.
Kosgei, must you have money maybe to walk around Embakasi as you look for votes?
I wanted to counter it, but I'm not going to. The only thing we had yesterday from Uhuru Kenyatta's speech is that curfew has been lifted. Everything else was gibberish. That was a very long speech. Went up to 2:30 p.m. We're just waiting for him to conclude after those stimulus statements. I have given 1 billion, 2 billion, and then curfew. Another thing that gave us interest yesterday is the CRB. The people who are in CRB will no longer be considered defaulters because the president has said. Otherwise, people have started getting late going home. There's someone who lives in my house. We looked for her yesterday at around 10 p.m. Wako happy.
And Kelvin, from your side.
Thank you. Before I begin, I want to say thank you for having me, Omuse. And it's been great pleasure having my back here. And it was good time. We have been polishing, we have been surfacing everything, and we are back here and a bit better. And I want to say that personally, being a law-abiding citizen, I feel there's a difference. The way my colleagues said is like they didn't follow the curfew things, and personally I was doing. And I would say there is a difference. There is a difference because I know of. I'll just give you a simple case of a guy who was selling kerosene from where I come from. He used to close at 8, but now that means sales were going down. But now he's closing. He'll be closing late hours, meaning more sales. So there is a difference, and I want to say thank you very much to our president because he's done great in terms of these hard times. It has been pandemic time, and controlling the economy with this kind of pandemic and difficulties. Even if you're in his shoes, it will have been difficult the way it has been to him. So he has done better and good as a great man of this country.
With a caution to people to continue actually observing the protocols.
We are not yet out of the
virus. Many thanks.
Yes.
Now we get into politics, and just to our viewers, remember the opinions expressed in this show are actually the opinions of our guests, but not the official position of CAC TV. But we do it with decorum, putting into consideration ethics, law, and legal considerations of the factors that we discuss on the show. Now, looking into what happened during the day, and this thing has happened previously, the judiciary's relationship with the executive. Today, the judiciary gave another order. In fact, they now directed the president to appoint the 6 judges who are left out in the list of the 40 judges who are to be appointed before, and they have told the president that if these duration lapses minus appointing them, then it will be deemed that they are in office legally. Beginning from Anita, there is something that is cropping up, blames from these 2 arms of government, that is the executive and the judiciary. And there is a very huge feeling that the judiciary has taken that stance of activists sabotaging the judiciary. What's your take on these push and pull scenarios?
For me, when I look at it, and I remember there was an article that was done by Paul Mwangi, and he talked about judicial activism, and whereby the judiciary, actually the politicization of the judiciary. And for me, I feel like it's a step too much, because all these organs of government are supposed to be independent. So when you give the president some sort of ultimatum, it's because how it is, it's like appoint them, and if you don't appoint them within a certain term, it will be assumed that they've already been appointed. What are you saying? It means you're also demeaning the position, the office of the president and the executive. Your work, the Judicial Service Commission, your work is to bring a list of judges, and the government can appoint them as he deems fit with the advice of the Attorney General. So I feel like that route is wrong, and I feel like the advisors of Martha Koome, I don't know if they're trying to be like Maraga and bring out the strong fierceness, but for me, when a president is about to leave and you're giving him such ultimatums, I don't think it makes sense. Further to that, the judiciary is putting us in a very tight corner in the relationship, not just the executive, but also the legislature. If you remember, Maraga had issued an advisory saying that parliament must be dissolved so that we meet the 2/3 gender rule. And the question was, if we actually dissolve parliament and the president follows this order, what guarantee will you give us that we will get the required number of women in parliament? So you cannot keep on giving us some orders that do not make sense. And every other day there'll be articles in the newspaper and people would say the executive is defying court orders. But when you look at the court orders, they bring more questions than answers. Then further to that, the same Judiciary Service Commission is supposed to investigate why the 6 judges were not sworn in. And they were valid reasons. So they should have said, we have gone through this mechanism, we've sat down with the 6 judges. If this one was accused of an hypothetical situation, if this one was accused of corruption, we've done A, B, C, D, and we have come to this conclusion. But you cannot, if the president has said with reason that A, B, C, D, I'm not going to appoint, then the Judiciary Service Commission should have done the due diligence. Just like we expect the other commission on police to sort out police matters whenever they happen and say, we've done A, B, C, D, this guy has been redeployed, this guy has been sent on leave. Those are the kind of things we are expecting. But all this machoism, especially when the president is concentrating on his legacy, which, if you ask me, especially the legacy of unity, which has come through the back corner, despite the BBI again being shut down at the High Court, and now is currently at the Supreme Court. If you ask me, I don't think the president is interested.
Thank you. Now, Kosgei, you were here the other time, and we did not really get a proper conclusion regarding the working system between the judiciary and the executive. Here's a situation where the Judicial Service Commission has proposed names to the executive, which actually heads that branch, where it receives intelligence from the NIS, which tells them this and that has happened. And then when the executive, which is actually mandated to look into all affairs of the country, gives its own stand, the judiciary orders. In fact, it said that we have directed the executive. Failure to do this will have to happen. What does that portend to the new constitution and the future working system of the government?
It is quite unfortunate that we have a judiciary that orders the president to do a certain thing. If he doesn't do it, and the country will go in another direction. It is quite unfortunate. But how did we get ourselves here? First, interviews were done by the Judicial Service Commission. And the Judicial Service Commission was satisfied that the following judges passed the interview, and the president was given names to appoint the appointees. There is a lacuna in the law. What if the president does not appoint them? When you go to parliament, when you're passing a bill, when you are giving the president a bill, even if the president doesn't give it to ascension, it becomes law. What happens when you are satisfied as Judicial Service Commission? I want to tell you that the Judicial Service Commission doesn't know. Doesn't know.
Just to cut you short.
Yes.
Where you're talking of a bill becoming a law without presidential assent, is it a new law that has come into Kenya?
It's been there from when we were born. Because Parliament is independent and it's very strong. You cannot do a law and then you expect the president to reject it. No.
But he advises back to streamline the law with if suppose the law that has come from Parliament is actually a retrogressive law.
Yes, but he can advise as the leader of that party. Anyway, as the Judicial Service Commission should have such a loophole. I can tell you for a fact, Omose, that the Judicial Service Commission doesn't know what's up with the 6 judges. Because these people would have been investigated and a commission of inquiry opened to dismiss the judges if the intelligence had given the real report. But this is revisited.
Still on that, Kosgei,
yes.
one of the ruling that came from the High Court today was to stop any form of interrogation or investigations towards these judges. The court gave that instruction.
Very true, because that time had been given for them to consider anything that comes from the executive, and those people are willing to look into the judges. You know, so there's a problem between the judiciary. The judiciary is independent, but there is interdependence. That's why the president appoints the judiciary, the members of the judiciary. There's that interdependence. But the president is higher.
Before we get into Mr. Mwangi's opinion and view over this, look at a scenario here. Anita Nkirote, I'm just using that example, appears before the Judicial Service Commission to be considered as a judge.
Yes.
She passes the interview.
Yes.
That is on a Monday. Passes the interview, even the integrity test and everything. While she's leaving the room that she has been interviewed, she arrives there at somewhere in Kiamaiko or in Juja and meets Kelvin. And probably, God forbid, that cannot happen. Then she shoots Kevin on the leg. And then that information now reaches the appointing authority. So the appointing authority to proceed with appointing her simply because she passed the interview?
Can't we be told that someone shot someone? It is that easy.
But the mandate of the Judicial Service Commission, apart from appointing these judges, is actually, if someone comes and claims that in your situation that Anita Nkirote shot someone,
yes,
the Judicial Service Commission
has
should not
to open an inquiry.
Open the question as to windows and doors. You can create a crime at any time. So you cannot tell us, we gave you the list last year and you had an opportune time. No, I can still commit a crime today. I can still not defend the law today as a judge. So for me, that is neither here nor there. It actually, and you know, law serves to, there's a natural law, the rule of law actually. The rule of law must flow in basic nature, which means that some things are, even a blind man is able to see that this is wrong. So sometimes the decisions being made honestly by the judiciary are just crazy.
Thank you. Kelvin, let's hear from you.
Before you continue, Musa, I had something to add on that. I have had two contradictions and two contradicting story and statement. That one, you said that even if the legislature or the parliament passes a bill, you know, before it gets to the president, it is a bill. Then when it is assented, it becomes a law. There is no any time the president doesn't assent a bill and then it becomes a law. It is very unconstitutional. It doesn't become a law. Then we go back to JSC, Judicial Service Commission. You know, when we talk of the fights we are seeing between the two arms of government, that is judiciary and the executive, one thing that people need to know, and it is even in the constitution, that a president who heads the executive has a representative in JSC who happens to be the legal advisor, who is the Attorney General. So Attorney General sits in JSC, okay? He has no rights, or he has no power to make such a great decision in JSC, but he is there to represent the president, okay, as the head of executive. So if he goes back to who he represents and tells him, here we have some gaps, and the gaps is because of integrity, and he proves it beyond reasonable doubt, then the appointing authority, after the JSC giving the names of the judges, okay, to be made now legally judges, then the president has the right to say no. These people hasn't met the what we call the integrity threshold. So the president is being advised from the JSC, not by the judges, not by the Chief Justice, neither whoever comes from any kind of court, but the Attorney General. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kosgei, we come back to you because there is that part indeed that I wanted clarification. I'm glad Kelvin reminded here that the only thing that the president maybe is incapacitated to do or is supposed to do is to advise that this law is inconsistent with the constitution.
Yes.
But tomorrow, Justin Muturi cannot go ahead and say these are law without having the presidential assent. So the other thing here, why the president at the final stage has to assent to this law is because the constitution itself says the president is the head of state and government.
And
So, just before you come in, I want Kosgei to exhaust on this matter.
Okay.
If the constitution says the president is the head of state and government, isn't the judiciary part of the government? Because the focus of the show tonight also to find this thing is to have a scenario whereby a house has a father, mother, firstborn son or daughter, and people in that order, a house help, and everybody has their own duties.
Yes.
We are not saying that the president to be given more powers, but the worry that a number of Kenyans have started having is this scenario whereby the president is being directed in very many directions, even in some things that are very clear that there is no violation of the natural law, gross violation.
Musa, I was trying to get the article in the Constitution that says that if the president doesn't do it after 14 days, then it becomes law. I'll get it from the articles. Now, the president is the head of state.
And government.
Yes, and government. And there are three arms of government. That's the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. And the president is the head. Sometimes we tend to forget that. That's why when we want to argue the case of the judiciary, we hit the wall. The president is wrong politically about the judiciary. We judge the president so harshly about the judiciary because the president has been revisiting since he came to power. But the revisiting, since he came to power, he is allowed to do that by the law because he's the head of state and head of government. So there is a loophole. There's a loophole somewhere, even if he's doing bad in this. Then if you can't go to court and you can't win that case, so you are directing them to be appointed under what law? Because judgment will be done anyway. And where? So are you going to tie the president in his hands to appoint them? So there is a loss somewhere. These are the things that we should be looking and amending the constitution to make sure that the three arms of government run. But if there is independence of arms of government, this country will go to the dogs.
Independence or interdependence?
Independence. If you separate the judiciary totally and completely, because there has to be interdependence.
Now, this thing has happened for quite some time. And currently, remember, we are 9 months away from the general elections where members of county assemblies are going to be elected, members of parliament, senators, women representatives, governors, and the position of the president. And disputes will arise from the results. And what now is expected of a judiciary that already people are feeling it's no longer serving the interest that is supposed to serve? What do we do? Because here we are having an election coming. We are having a BBI that is actually headed to the Supreme Court, which Kosgei opposed strongly. And probably the proponents of BBI talked of they are trying to look for remedies on how to handle some of the things that are happening currently. Where we are, what do we do?
Where we are, and it's unfortunate that the BBI did not pass.
It's headed to the Supreme Court. We cannot
discuss High Court.
it.
It did not pass. The High Court judge dismissed the BBI. It's unfortunate. However, it seems there is been a roundabout of some of the BBI issues being solved in other ways. For example, I'll bring the issue of ethnic antagonism. With the handshake, currently, Baba anaingia Mount Kenya. For the first time, he's being able, he can talk in a podium, he can talk in a national function. In Kirinyaga, he's toured Laikipia, he's toured Meru, he's toured Tharaka-Nithi. Today he was in Kiambu. So for me, that is one aspect. Now coming to your question on some of the aspects of BBI and in specific regard to the judiciary. And at first it seemed so far-fetched when the issue of the judiciary ombudsman was brought, which was supposed to sit like an oversight body of the judiciary that is supposed to sit in the office of the president. And it makes, for me, currently as I see, it makes sense because the judiciary has gone rogue. Actually, it's a rogue judiciary. Because as I said before, you cannot make decisions that do not make sense. They go against even the nature of law. For example, what we just talked about, you tell the president, you must swear in the 6 judges, you must accept them. If you don't accept them, then when a certain period of time lapses, it is assumed that that they are automatic judges. What is that? You've said it's 9 months to the election. For me, I would think the judiciary will preoccupy itself in getting ready for these disputes. The same way IBC had its challenges. People still went to the judiciary and said, hey, we do not have enough commissioners. So instead of focusing on, don't tell me that 6 judges will prevent the elections disputes from being held. Martha Koome right now should focus on the strategic plan. When I was watching the interviews and the candidates were being asked, do you know of the strategic plan of the judiciary? What do you want to achieve? For me, one of the key pillars, if I would be concentrating on during this 1 year, is how to get ready to handle electoral disputes. Number 2, there'll be, of course, swearing in of governors, swearing in of all these sorts of people. Those are the type of things we should be hearing, making sure that the IBC is on track, because if the IBC messes up, it goes back to the judiciary and we continue with this dance. So for me, I feel like the focus is on the wrong approach. I'd be expecting the judiciary to ask for more money like Maraga used to for brick and mortar. I don't understand how the 6 judges are inhibiting the functioning of the judiciary. If anything, they should go back, and as I said, the other function of the Judicial Service Commission, apart from recommending the list of judges, it's also to come and investigate inquiries into these judges. And there was a wild suggestion a while back, I don't know if all of you guys remember, there was a suggestion that the issue of the security of tenure of judges needs to be reviewed. And it sounded very crazy. They say that these guys, even the president has a mandate. It's 5 years. And this guy comes back and says, hey, I've done ABCD, can you re-elect me? That's one organ of the government, the executive. The CS says no one is safe. You know, apart from now public servants who are permanent and pensionable. Every other person is on contract in the executive. When you come to the legislature, after 5 years, your MCA will be like asking for votes. Your governor will be asking for votes. So we've given this is a baby who has been over-babied.
Thank you, Anita, on that. Now,
yes.
Kelvin.
So the question, please, Omuse, allow me to finish. So the question now is, do we still grant the judges the security of tenure? Have they overstepped their boundaries? What do we do?
Thank you. Before we go for a break, Kelvin, in summary, briefly, how do we fix these 2 issues between the working relationship between the judiciary and the executive without bending either of the side, without stepping on the judiciary, because their role is also very important in interpreting the law, and also the executive in executing whatever has been interpreted?
Almost, I'll take you back on where we are the last time on this show. We have a constitution and we have a rule of law. If we were to follow constitution, everything will work as it should be. But to add on that, I think judiciary is taking advantage of the person who heads executive, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta. This guy is cool. And he's cool, when I say so, I mean this. Look, we have seen a lot of activism in judiciary. You know, it has become like, instead of being guided by the law, it is about activism. They want the executive to learn a lesson. And when I'm saying so, personally, I don't have faith with our judiciary. Look, the Akasha brothers were in this country. The judiciary did not reprimand them. They were not in a position to prosecute them. True or false? The prosecution takes the case, but when it gets to the judiciary comes back and says there is no concrete evidence. But what happened to Akasha when they go to the US? The same judiciary, no, the judiciary in the US is able to put its hand on the Akasha, the drug ballots, yeah, and then they get hold of them and then they jail them. Why not in this country? What we are experiencing is a judiciary activism, where I can say that they are trying to like punish someone. And if I was to go, as I said, if only our president wasn't a cool guy, this country will be in a very, very bad position. Reason why? Let me finish. Reason why? Because if it was to use the powers, be sure you know what could happen. But what we are seeking, we don't want to go to that side, because this is a country which is guided by the rule of law. We want a situation whereby the executive goes to the constitution, follow the constitution to the letter, judiciary the same. And again, people should not presume the roles of the president. He is the appointing authority from the JSC. He has
Thank you very much,
to it.
Mr. Kelvin. We go for a quick commercial break. When we return, we'll also be getting Mr. Edgar Kosgei's stand regarding on how to fix the situation between the executive and the judiciary. Tonight, we look into the issues surrounding the succession politics of the year 2022. And remember, the judiciary plays a very crucial role in determining disputes arising from the preparations and also post-election happenings. Keep it here on CAT TV.
Sorry.
Families should be the epitome of love. But in recent times, this seems like a dream, because all we're witnessing is rape cases, high divorce rates, betrayal, and even murder.
So you have to protect her.
You say maintaining marriages because racist.
There are also many who are going through issues in their marriages and they can't run to anybody.
The issue of killing, the issue of murder seem to be on the rise.
And that is why we bring you Transforming Families, where we are all about just that, transforming families.
Many thanks for keeping it here on CAT TV on Power Brief tonight as we look into the matters surrounding the succession politics of the year 2022. And before we went for a quick commercial break, we were looking into the relationship between the judiciary and the executive. And Edgar Kosgei has just reminded us something while we were on a break, but still, let's get to hear it because he seems to be having another opinion regarding the presidential ascension through bills that are presented to Parliament. Kosgei, you had something to actually put in relation to this push and pull.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not discussing about bills passed in Parliament. But I was just giving an example. I was giving an example just by the way, but it has made me want to clarify that Article 115, subsection 6, says that if the president does not assent to the bill after 14 days,
A period of 14 days.
yes, but just leaves it like that,
Yes.
it becomes law. That's what I was saying.
Yes.
If the same law should be there with the judiciary, that if the president does not appoint those fellows, and they become the judges,
I have a rebuttal.
after 14 days,
I have a
or
rebuttal for
after
you.
30 days.
Almost just
But
a minute. Just a minute. Just a minute.
Yes.
Just a minute. I want to rebut on my brother here. The point and the constitution has stated very clearly that in a period of 14 days, if the president just kept silent, he doesn't talk about it, constitutionally it becomes a law. But now, these 14 days, the president has the authority to tell them, no, this bill is not right. I'll give you a good example.
Authority and the obligations.
Yes, go back, polish it. If it comes more better, I'll still think about it. And still he has the powers to say no, he can trash it down. A good example, I'll give you a good example. You remember about the cap of interest, bank interest? There is a time Jude Jong the member of parliament in Kiambu town, he took a bill saying that we want to increase we want to lower down the interest cap of banking industry so that people can be able to access loans. Now look it here. It was from 14 to something to 10. No, it was from 13 to 9. And immediately banks stopped loaning individuals or small or SMEs. They started loaning government and big organizations. Why? Because they were losing it. Now the president looked at it again. And he said, now you guys, you need to go and repolish about it. When it came back, Judiciary still stood with that. And he brought it again to the president as a bill to be assented. He said, no, we have to go back to 13%. So when my brother says so, he has to remember that president in this journey of law, he is an authority in that he has to say yes or no. In those 14 days, the period given by the Constitution, if he doesn't talk, then that says it is silence is also communication. That becomes a law automatically from the Constitution. But within the 14 days, the president says no, it is a no. It can't be a law, it remains a bill, and a bill cannot be considered as a law. Thank you.
Now, Kosgei, are you coming into argument with probably what Kelvin is trying to say and probably what the situation on the ground, ground, that the president plays a very crucial role in determining the direction on the decision that the country has to take regarding different matters?
Yes, it does. I did not differ with them in terms of presidency directing the country. But I just gave an example of a bill under consideration in Parliament. And it was not, should not have been a big discussion about it. And the Constitution is very clear, and people should read it. And that one should be aside. Let's move on. The president plays the biggest role. That's why he is a symbol of unity of our country. He's the head of state and government, and he plays a very big role. And whatever he says and whichever direction he gives, we should follow the president. Even if we differ with the president politically, because he seems to be reading from another script this time, another script tomorrow. The script of the DP today, the script of Raila tomorrow. So even if you're a supporter of these two people...
Anita will tell us if of late...
No, how can you assume that? No, I refuse. No, I refuse.
You will correct it.
She will tell us.
No.
She will tell us her account.
Yes. Whether it's the other one or the Kura. So, sorry. So the president leads the country in a certain direction. We have never accepted it. And we have never accepted that there is another president above the president of the Supreme Court. You see, we tend to say president of the Supreme Court, thinking they are all equals. The president of legislature, president of the Supreme Court, president of Kenya. There can't be three presidents. There is one president. And I think Uhuru Kenyatta is enjoying this so much. Yeah, he's so enjoying this so much to see where you can reach with all your tantrums. When you jump up and down, we are going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And also the powers of the president can be misused. Very much. He can misuse those powers and he can use those powers to settle political scores, as we have seen of late.
Thank you. Anita will tell us maybe in another, when you'll be doing your submissions later on, whether recently the president has read the script of his deputy. That's just by the way. But these were now after having looked into the judiciary and everything surrounding it now, tunaenda moja kwa moja hadi to the ground, and how the situation is now actually arranged. We have the UDS side, also known as the wheelbarrow, also known as Tangatanga. You've got so many names, Kosgei, your camp. We have the camp of Azimio la Umoja. These two have come out very strongly to say that they're actually ready to take the leadership of this country. But still, there's something that seems not to be coming up. We're coming into that. But let's review Raila's visits in Mount Kenya region. You come from there, you come from there. There is an opinion somewhere that his entry there is tilting the support that the deputy president has been in quotes, enjoying for the past, I think, 9 years. Has the Raila visits tilted the support of the DP?
As a person coming from Mount Kenya, and Mount Kenya East categorically, the road, the most scenic, beautiful road in Kinondoni, in Chogoria, where I come from, where I was born and raised, I would say that the road to the mountain is not easy. As everyone knows, you must plan and execute in good time. Number 2, you must have the correct tour guides to guide you around. Otherwise, you'll be lost. You'll be thinking you're close to Batian and you are not. Number 3, you must always sit down and acclimatize. What am I saying? You know, there are some people who are long distance racing. They are very good in racing. They race to the mountain so fast 3 years ago, but unfortunately, as we stand here today, one, they got the wrong tour guides. They were misled and they kept being told, we are almost close, there is the snow there, there is the snow there. They've not yet reached. They were running, they never took time to rest and acclimatize and sit down with the people at the table. And they got wrong tour guides. And I'm starting to see like they've met the forest. The forest is very unwelcoming. They've met wild animals that are now devouring them. For me, I'd say the ground is actually shifting.
From shifting to who?
The ground is shifting from wheelbarrows to Azimio la Umoja.
Thank you.
Yes.
Kelvin, let's also get to hear from you, who comes from Kiambu and Murang'a. Today, Raila was in Kiambu, at somewhere in Kigumo, and he also went to Juja, and then I think Ruiru. Is a thing happening, or the historic balancing of the unique situations of the year 2022?
One, I want to say that today, unless we want to hang on assumptions, the Deputy President, William Ruto, we can't say he is enjoying the kind of support he was enjoying like 3 years ago in the mountain. Why? Because this guy, this is a race, but this guy has been running alone. And when he looks behind, he sees
He
like,
is the only one.
Because how can you win when you are running alone? How can you win when you are running alone? And now when the competitors come and they say, look, ushahema. So now we want to start the race. The guy now is putting I know there are people who are haunting me. I know there are people who are bad wishers of me. But the point is, for me, Raila is penetrating in the mountain in a way that nobody could have thought, because of the cohesion and the unity that has been brought by the president. It was very hard in 2017 to see Raila enjoying such kind of warm welcome in the mountain like he is doing today. And that's the country, that's the Kenya we are looking for. We want a united nation whereby it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what is your tribe, doesn't matter either you are the have or have not, but you can go to all part of this country. And it is your democratic right. And it is your right to go and sell your agenda. What I can say, especially I have had, I come from Mount Kenya. And specifically I come from Murang'a. And I can tell you something, and I stay in Kiambu. I've engaged with youth, and I can tell you the silent majority. Those people who are not... You see the other part of the supporters of William Ruto, they are like, William Ruto for me is a populist, more of a populist. So he wants people who can shout, very on top of their voices. And I've talked to people and I've told me, you know what? This time round, it's not about our tribe or who. We are going to go for the best. And considering the political matrix that we have no any Kikuyu aspirant for the presidential contest, I can tell you the mountain is very slippery.
Thank you.
And it is, let me finish. And it's very hard to say Ruto has the mountain, Raila has the mountain. But to whose advantage as you speak? To Raila's advantage. It was very hard for him to penetrate, but right now he is already there. He is going, and he is going very nice and very well with the right tour guides.
Thank you. Looking on that still, it brings us into something here, Koski, about the arrangements of the previous Kenyan politics. They say that sometimes history guides, though it reaches a point where things changes. In 2017, we had a group called NASA, which had 5 men. That is, we had Musalia, we had Raila, we had Chama cha Mashinani, Isaac Ruto, and the likes. which gave a very huge competition to the Jubilee side and also led to the nullification of the election. But as we speak tonight, until now, it is still unclear whether Musalia, Wetangula, and Kalonzo will back Raila Odinga. And if such a situation comes to the end of the finishing line, that this group is not supporting Raila Odinga for presidency election, what are likely scenarios that probably Kenyans should be expecting from the results? Bearing in mind that even though the support of the DP is dwindling in the Mount Kenya region, still he's got some support, and when he goes back to the Rift Valley, which it's considered the populous community there is behind him. What are some of these arithmetic that Kenyans will be projecting to hear about?
The question that you have posed is, will the 2 or 3 principals support Raila Odinga? I want to say that the 2 or 3 principals have been cornered. And they have nothing to offer on the table.
By who and what?
They have been cornered by Raila Odinga. If you see the kind of crowds that Raila Odinga is pulling now, and you talk to me about Musalia Mudavadi leading Raila Odinga, you'll be lying. You will be telling me that these things don't work. Raila Odinga started his Azimio la Umoja from Kisii, went to Kakamega, now hitting the mountain, because he wanted to show them the kind of crowds he would pull. And Musalia Mudavadi has not gone down easily like that. He has been going around the country showing his might too. But the might of Musalia and the might of Raila cannot be compared. The approach of Raila Odinga to the mountain at first was wrong. Because Raila Odinga believes in a system that gets you into the government. And that system, he believes that it is the one that has been shutting him out from 2007 to 2017, and that he should quote that system and get it. And the system is the Mount Kenya Foundation and the bigwigs of the mountain and those ones.
In assumption,
that was the wrong approach.
Sure whether that's the system or whether the system exists. It's a discussion for the future.
Yes, for another.
That was wrong approach.
An assumption.
Yes,
that was wrong approach. The approach that he's taking now in Meru streets is the approach. That's the approach. Otherwise, if you think you can go to a hotel and organize for wananchi, it is not it. The dwindling support of William Ruto at the mountain has been seen. Because for me, I go with the data that is being given out by these people who come out with data. He's at 57% now, as we speak.
From?
He was at some 62 or something.
From where? Which data? Which data? You know you're quoting which data?
Let me wait. Allow me correct. Ruto was enjoying 85%.
Let him finish. Then you give the figures.
You will have this like this.
Yes, you will have your part. For now, well, if you see Kiamba's outcome, it was at 55.
That's personality at the lower level?
No, it was at 55. The votes were at 55. And that is what told of the survey that happened in the mountain. Kiamba is the mountain, and other parts also are the mountain. So the person who did this gave it at 57. Ruto has been there for the longest time. Maybe the people who have been so loud are the ones who have been too loud about his presence at the mountain. Otherwise, it's been a small one. Ruto started from zero, from a tribe that killed the other one.
Assumptions.
Yes, assumptions. They didn't want even to see him. Zero. But he made those few strides. Anyway, as we move, the mountain is a subject that we have talked about like forever. How special is the mountain?
Very special.
Let me finish. How special is the mountain?
Extremely.
Kikuyus know what they want. And they are quoting presidential candidates.
You're talking about Kikuyu now.
Well, we are here.
Let me just describe you.
Don't mention
We can describe
because in the mountain,
which
some of
Judicial
us come
Service
from
Commission
there.
appointed you to be a judge.
Okay. The mountain people know what they want.
Yes,
and they are quoting these presidential candidates to get the best out of them. Other people are sleeping.
Thank you.
As
Anita,
a person,
it's now your time.
thank you.
It's now your time
Uh-huh.
before I give you the time.
Yes.
Allow me rebuttal.
No,
We'll
no,
come like this, Kelvin.
No, I want just to read the
Gender
top. So
equality,
take my point.
gender equality. No,
you
no,
are
women
not
are
allowed.
fought.
You're not
Women
for
are
this.
fought.
No,
Thank you,
it's actually
Cornelius,
equal.
for supporting
Now,
women.
Anita, Kelvin, you'll come
Yes.
into that.
No, I just want to read
You
the top.
attended the second meeting at some hotel.
Yes,
on
and I
Thika Road,
spoke.
and
Yes,
you spoke,
on
which
behalf.
got the nation's limelight.
Yes.
So these are the group that you attended the meeting together with.
Yes.
You still hold the opinion, or also with the Kosgei, that this group should be given the mantle, then Raila to back them. There are likely probabilities that they'll work together. They have decided it's time everybody goes on their way. And what are the likelihood
Yes.
results from that?
So the reason, prior to the Mount Kenya Oka meeting, there was also the first meeting with Baba, if you remember. Actually, the first major meeting, because of course, before these meetings are made public and you're invited to come to Safari Park, there are boardroom meetings where people sit down and discuss these things. Let's be realistic. If elections were held today, no one is getting 50% plus one votes. That's a fact, and that's pure politics, and we are all...
Suppose Raila gathers his former team.
I'm coming there now. If elections were held today, for starters, we have only two horses in the race. That's obvious. That's Raila and Ruto. But none of them can gather 50 plus 1 votes. And that's how now the Oka team comes on board, whereby we say, can we get all these principles on one ticket? Yet Baba had managed to do that, if you remember, under the NASA coalition. Now he's talking under Azimio la Umoja. It seems like he has the Luo votes and a section of Mount Kenya votes. But now the Oka members, when they stand by themselves, Gideon Moi will have a problem. Why? Because as much as he may command some centers that maybe he himself has gathered, and also plus his political dynasty, he will have a challenge in Rift Valley. Now let me talk about the people of Rift Valley, since the people of the mountain were being talked about. Yeah, so he'll have that sort of challenge, because Ruto is also from Kalenjin and has made inroads. When we come still to Kalonzo Musyoka, there is also presidential candidates. Last I checked, Kivutha Kibwana was vying. Last I checked, Dr. Alfred Mutua was vying. When we come to Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula, and we've actually had a fifth principal in Oka, who is Jirongo. All of them come from the Luya nation. So originally, so what's the much ado about the mountain, as he was asking, what is so special about the mountain? Before, the mountain used to have one united front. And even when it split, it split because of itself. We would have a situation whereby it's Matiba and Kibaki. A brief history lesson, yeah? Kibaki and Matiba. Uhuru and Kibaki. That used to be the scenario. But currently, it's quote unquote people who are not from the mountain who are standing. Remember the reason why the Luya nation, with a big population that it has today, why it cannot quote unquote, it's always split. Yet if the Luya community, if somebody was able to unite the Luya community, as Atwoli is now trying to do through his coordination, then the Luya community would negotiate for a presidency seat, would negotiate for even a deputy seat. But because of the split, even within Oka itself, that it's fielding already Jirongo, it's already fielding Musalia Mudavadi, then there comes a problem. So Oka comes because of the 50 plus 1 votes. And the question would be, like yesterday, Baba introduced Musalia Mudavadi to speak to the crowd. Why? Are they going to use a divide and rule tactic in Oka and say, who will benefit us more? Do we take Gideon? What does Gideon have to offer? Does he have the money? Does he have the interest?
Summarize that part, Anita, time.
Yes, and to summarize, it's a very delicate matter. And there are a lot of strategies going on, and people are thinking, how are we going to get the 50 plus 1 votes? Because if elections are held today, absolutely no one is taking, we are going to have a runoff until the Oka team now decides, actually they are the deciding factor.
Thank you so much. Kevin, you had a rebuttal and also a contribution towards that before we come to the final points.
Yes, my point was, it's very close, that the correct and verifiable fact was, William Ruto, from the polls we've had, he has been enjoying 85%. Now he is up to 57. Where is the difference? Where has the difference gone? I've told you, we have a lot of silent majority in the mountain. And this is part of why is the mountain so important? You know, you can read, it's a matter of black and white. It is so important. That's why Raila is camping there, Ruto is camping there, Musalia is camping there. Another day, Gideon Moi was in Nyeri, camping there. Reason because, one thing with mountain, if I was to give you just a good example of 2000, let me take you a bit. 2007, if you remember, the mantra was 41 against
Assumption still.
Yes, but it was there. It was even in the mainstream.
the
It was there.
boardroom.
It was 41 against 1. That is the mantra that Raila used in 2007.
It's alleged.
Yeah, that's what. No, that's what he
For
used.
another time we'll come.
Let me
to
finish.
do
Let me
that.
finish. Let me finish. I can even prove beyond any reasonable doubt. So, if you can remember, 42 against or 41 against 1, and still this one, which was now taken to be the Mount Kenya region, and still beat these people down, then that tells you that there is a reason, the potential that lies in the mountain. If today the mountain wakes as a block and say, we want Ruto, immediately as a president. If tomorrow the mountain woke and said, in unison, we want Raila, without even those Oka and whatever, Raila becomes the president. So let me finish. Mount Kenya region is a factor to determine where the presidency will go. It is nothing to discuss about it. It is the way it is.
Probably next week we'll have a discussion over that. But lastly, as you give you a chance to say something to the nation, every aspirant is running away from this discussion on how they are going to term graft. Raila today said that 600 billion is lost annually to corruption. And you're talking of Azimio la Umoja, wheelbarrow, and so many things, but nobody's talking about it. As you talk to the nation, what do you tell them that in as much as promises are there, what do you have to tell the citizens and the aspirants in regard to a fight against graft in a few seconds as we go the other direction?
What I can say about corruption, that this country will have been very far. And I'll just a small brief. Raila was talking about like help should not be a loan, should be a grant. Since 1995, as an act of parliament, that's when help was introduced. And up to date, they have given 90 billion as loan. That if you divide with the 25 years, we get 3.7 billion every year. But we know that this country, according to the information that we've got from the president, it is losing 55 billion every month. What does that tell you? It is possible. What we need to do, we need to differentiate between friendship and what we need to do, like if there's a president or if there's like where you are. Don't take those coating of friendship so that you're hiding someone. If somebody is corrupt, let justice take its course, because we are fighting too much, and yet the money where it's going is in the pocket of individuals. And let me tell you, Muse, when somebody when someone who comes from a tribe steals from the government or embezzles the funds, that money doesn't belong to the community. It belongs to the family, that person and the family. So this thing of saying it is my tribe being targeted, we should come to the end, and it should have the goodwill of the citizen.
Many things, Anita, in summary. Graft war.
Yeah, in the graft war, my summary would be, let's implement Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya. I mean, it's no-brainer. If you're involved in corruption or the institution you're running is involved in corruption, step down and let the judiciary again come in and ensure that there is speedy, the judiciary, the ODPP, the EACC, ensure there is a speedy trial of suspects. Because if you're getting out today, the next day you're running for a position and you're winning, and then you use now political power to even insulate and protect yourself, it puts us in more trouble. So for me, I'd say the Constitution should be implemented and upheld. Let Chapter 6 do its magic.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kosgei.
Oh yeah, three things. One, to say that the Queen Nation directs the presidency of this country is total arrogance. Two, about corruption. We should take baby steps. We are corrupt. So let's take baby steps.
I'm not corrupt.
We by who?
I'm not
as
corrupt.
a government of Kenya, I'm taking that responsibility.
Oh, so you're speaking on behalf of government.
Anita. As the government of Kenya, we are so corrupt, and we should take baby steps to address it.
Can you prove that?
Number three, the people who make law are the ones who are corrupt. So how do we entrust? How do we trust them to create good law that will shoot them or at their feet?
Many things, Mr. Edgar Kosgei. Hopefully next year, God willing, when you make it to be a member of parliament, you will actually live by that spirit of actually doing the right thing in the National Assembly. That is Mr. Kelvin Mwangi, Anita Kirote, and Mr. Edgar Kosgei. Tonight, I knew that in this place, actually, we needed a fire cylinder, because these two gentlemen and lady are fully armed with information. But at the end of it all, our national mantra of peace, love, and unity prevails. Together, we've looked into issues surrounding the succession politics of the year 2022, and our panelists tonight have helped us break down some of the things that needs to be fixed. And we believe that on Power Brief, information is power. And as this information goes to the stakeholders, the citizens, and the government, we hope proper implementation. For me, Cornelius Omuse, the entire Power Brief production team, God willing, next Thursday we meet at this place at the same time. Have a very good night.